Hi, welcome back to our Spanish adventures. Today I've started building the roof. Now I left the roof section until last because it's the biggest panel and it'll be around 45-50 kg when it's complete, just the roof, and that means that's going to be very difficult to manhandle. So I thought that most of it, hopefully, I will be able to build while it's sat up on the camper just here. So I've started today, and first of all I've got some 50x25 aluminium extrusion. Now this is used for solar panel supports. It was down the local builder's yard, and it's the cheapest way I could find of buying aluminium section. So what I'm going to do is create a ring beam. So I'll just show you how I'm going to connect these corners, because I can't weld aluminium. So I've got myself some long L-shaped brackets, and what I shall do is slide them in here. I shall put one in on the inside and one on the outside, because this just happens to have a good groove in it, and I shall screw these through the holes there. Then this is not the correct one, but I'll just hold this up to show you how I'm doing it, and then that will slide in like that, and then I can again screw or rivet this section here. That'll hold the corners nice and tight while I'm working on the rest of the framework. And then it'll be covered in plywood, 5mm on the sides, 10mm at the bottom, and then 10mm at the top, and the 10mm one on the top will come over the top of the lip and then up by 55-60mm, and then that means that the roof sections I'll be able to drop in. So that will drop inside the lip, and then that'll give me an option then of putting a 90-degree angle on here. It would be easier to make it just square, but I think if I can just put an angle on the top here like this, that will just look so much better. So that's what I'm on today.
Hey highway, what do you say if we took some time and wandered down your wild lines? Hey highway, you know I can't stay, and the leaving ain't as hard as staying gone. Hey highway, hey horizon, I'm keeping my eyes on you and what you promised that you're holding.
As you can see, I'm cracking on with the roof. I've just finished putting this top section on here, and I'll just talk you through what I've done and how I've made it up. Jill will put up the photos hopefully and you can see, but first of all I cut all these little triangles and I glued them to the baseboard, and that baseboard fits on top of this aluminium ring beam that's in here now. So I glued those on there, and I didn't screw them to start with. It's so much easier just to glue them all in place. As you can see from the photos, I went round, made all these sections up, these long sections, glued them all together. I then cut the back section, glued and then screwed that, and then that also meant then I could put a screw through the bottom there to hold all these little sections in place. So this sample pretty much is what's sitting up on the top here now. As you can see, I then cut, which took forever, XPS to fit in here. I didn't want to get a cold spot on the edge of this ring beam, so the XPS is all filled in there, and it's also glued in. It does help, it makes it just that little bit more rigid. So I then cloak the top over with that, and then what happens, I make it all up as I go along. So then what happens, this is this section here, and then now I'm going to screw the steel inside here, which is going in here, that drops down. So that's sitting there like that, and then the top piece of plywood goes on. I can hold all this. The top piece of plywood goes on there like that, which is this in here like this, and that will be the finished roof. So what I'm going to do, I've changed my plan slightly, because I was going to make the inset sections in 2 parts, but again I think they're going to be too heavy, too awkward to handle, so I'm going to make it in 5 sections now, 5 equal sections, which means they will slot into this channel that's fitted all the way round, and then the final plywood goes on top, and that should make it very strong and yeah, very rigid. So that's where I'm at. I've got a lot of filling now, all these screw holes and corners to fill and sand. I'm going to make a table up that goes outside. So I'll make a table that size so I can sit that outside in the front garden in the sunshine, and I can work on that. I can fill all that and sand all that down, and that means then that it'll be ready to lift back in here, bolt back on the hinges, and then we'll be able to lift that up, drop it down, and I can then start making my panels. So today I'm on the roof lift mechanism, and I thought I'd better sort this out before I actually put any finish on the ring beam for the roof part anyway. And we decided to go with actuators to lift the roof up. We decided that gas struts for us was too much. With a gas strut you have to lift it past its resistant point, and then you have to pull it back down past as well. So quite a bit of lifting, even though the gas struts do help. And also they put a massive amount of pressure on the hinges. So for me, I thought that actuate was the best thing. So I skipped school a lot, and trigonometry even. See, because I didn't even go, I don't know what it was called.
Neither of us went to learn about trigonometry.
Yeah, so we had to refer back to the little model that we made and to figure out exactly where everything needed to be fitted, because obviously this actuator has got to be fully closed and the roof be down, and then when it's fully extended, the roof up and not hit the inside of the garage ceiling. And at the moment it's going to, so I'm going to mess about in a minute and drop the camper down even further so I can just get that little bit more tolerance. For us it's important that the roof goes up as high as possible, because that gives us the maximum amount of space getting into the bed. So I'm in the middle of fixing this. I've bolted this through, I've got some more brackets to go. I've got another bracket to go underneath here, and then that will be bolted the bottom of this. When I built the sides, I didn't put any reinforcing in here because I didn't know exactly where the actuator would go, so I'm having to rely on the brackets to hold it, but that will be fine. So at the moment we were just working this out, but I think I've got that sussed now, and I shall mess about and lower it. So I just wanted to point out, now this roof section is down, this, if I'd have put the head in this doorway, this is where it would have been, and this is what we would have to do to get in. And as you can see straight away, I just bashed my head anyway. So that's exactly what we was trying to avoid. So no head in the doorway means we've got all of that. We can just go up the steps, stand up, perfect. I'll just point out my handle that I've been working on.
It's a very nice handle, darling.
Yeah, a bit of stainless steel tube that I had. I've just got to alter it slightly because it's a little bit proud, but just something I'm working on at the same time. So I just come round here. I finished making the brackets for the top and bottom of the actuators. So they've just got to come off now, and obviously I'll get them painted up. If you notice the tape on here, this is where the cover will go. Obviously you've got to make a cover for these. So these pencil lines are exactly where the cover needs to be. It looks quite wide, it's surprising, but when the roof goes up, the actuator comes back here. You'll see in a minute how that works. So this cover does have to be quite wide, about 170mm. So referring to using the actuators, you do have a little bit of a problem. When you go and buy two actuators off the shelf, they won't work at the same speed. That's pretty common, pretty well known throughout the industry. With gas struts, they'll just go up and down and they're pretty much equal. These don't work like that. There's two ways around that. You can buy actuators that have a hall sensor system in them, and then you buy a hall sensor controller, and that works it all out. You can run 4 or 5, as many as you like, actuators on one of them, and they'll all go up and down at the same time. That's very expensive, and I'm building the camper to a budget. So what I've done is the other way around it, is to buy a speed controller. So what you do, you find out which actuator is the fastest, which is moving the fastest, and then you put a small controller on that actuator and you can slow it down. You can't speed actuators up with these. all these do is reduce the input voltage or something like that. So it just reduces its speed by reducing the voltage. So we can control then 2. And you could have 4 actuators, and if you put controllers on all of them, you can fine tune them all and get them to go up and down at the same time. The other thing is, it doesn't have to be millimetre perfect, because there's a bit of flex in the roof anyway, which there needs to be. So it doesn't have to be spot on, but we'll get it as close as possible. So I've wired the actuators up, and we wanted to be able to work it from the Bluetooth controller. That makes it a little bit complicated because you have to reverse the polarity to get the actuator to go up or come down. And using a remote control on something that's reversing polarity is really tricky. So the way around that is I'm going to wire the actuators, which I've already done, to 2 switches, and these reverse the polarity. So at the moment they're in the off position. So what you'd have to do to get the roof to go up is put them in the up position. What I'm going to do is, I've got this little box here. I'm going to make a little control box with these switches on with arrows, so we know exactly what's doing what. So I've put them in the up position. The speed controller is already wired in, so that will control that. And then we'll go to the Bluetooth control panel. You probably remember, if you're keeping up with the videos, that everything in the camper is Bluetooth. So you go to this Bluetooth controller, and you'll be able to just simply press this button now, and this should happen. So those actuators are moving at approximately 8 millimeters per second. Seems a bit slow, but I'd rather have it going slowly so you can see what's going on, because as they're going up, these sides will be coming out and lifting everything. So I think it was better that it's going slower rather than too fast. At any time, if there's a problem, you can then just press the button and kill the power and sort it out if you did have a problem. So the actuators stop automatically because they have a built-in position sensor, so they've now killed the power. So although this is lit up and powered up, they're not going anywhere. So I'm going to switch that off, and the fail-safe is then to switch both of these switches to off. So when they're in off position, we can touch that, switch that button on and off, nothing's going to happen. And then to bring the roof down, we'll put these both in the down position. The only thing that is critical is that both of these switches are in exactly the same position.
Noted.
Other than that, we'll make a note for you, Jill.
Yeah, put some badges, stickers on them.
We will. Well, I'll put arrows on the control box, so it'll be hopefully pretty foolproof. So they're now in the down position. No, I didn't do that.
Hold on.
So Jill's gone over there just to show you as it's coming down. So I'll just press that button again, and then down they'll come. So that's it for now. I'm going to sort out all the electrics and get them in that little box and get that all tidied up, and we'll go from there.